The other way that this could resolve, yes, is if Trump is like, yeah, we found like an alien hair dryer and it's incredible technology. And if we can figure
Prayer
out how it
hands.
works.
Wouldn't that be like such a miracle? That would be like wowzers.
Yeah. And then we would put the hair dryer on a satellite over North Korea. And then the hair dryer would destroy any North Korean ICBM with a immensely powerful beam of light.
Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Jordan, and this is the Quotient Mispriced Market Show, where we walk through mispriced prediction markets and explain why with the help of Q, our forecasting AI. And if you agree with us, you can trade the narratives on our app.quotient.social.
Today, we're focused on one market. It's about whether the U.S. government confirms that aliens exist before the end of 2027. And Q has real conviction on this market, and there's a mispricing between what's on Polymarket and what Q sees. And so throughout the show, we're going to break down the reasoning of why there's a difference and kind of what's going on there. And what we tend to do on the show is that we'll talk about, again, the narrative. So like what's happening in the world. We'll also talk about the market and the specific rules associated with how it resolves. And in order to trade well, you really need to understand both. But first, we're going to start with our fun segment called Would You Trade It? So let me pull up. So will Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City, release another rap song? So Polymarket has it at 42%. This market just opened 3 days ago. The resolution bar is pretty low. So music videos count, features count, songs under his old alias count. And what doesn't count is freestyle or live performances. So I'll give you a little taste of that.
All right, you got to hit me with a beat. Okay.
But go.
You gotta keep going.
Okay, fine.
100,000 potholes.
Perfect. So
Cool.
So yeah. So Young Cardamom is his alias name. Would you trade it? What do you think?
What does it mean for it to be officially released? Like, does that mean on Spotify or like with a label?
It means that it's a newly released song or single available for download or streaming, not including live performances or leaks by the resolution date. So like it's not saying on what platform specifically, but it needs to be a released song or single officially available for download or streaming. That's what it says in the criteria. And if it's released, if it's released by Mamdani and other artists, it will count. And a music
I'm
video
just
released on
imagining 100 years from now, there being like Hamilton, but it's like the Mamdani administration. And that's like what our great grandchildren will watch. So I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like the opportunity to collaborate with some other New York artist.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a yes too. And like he's online, he's like it's so natural with him. I think like even if he wasn't planning on doing it, I think it's like he should do it. It's like fun. And so I'm a yes.
We agree. Cool. Let me pull up mine. Cool.
Fair.
So Billboard Hot 100 #1 song of the week. I have no opinions because I haven't heard any of these songs, but I figured that you might have heard at least Drop Dead by Olivia Rodrigo or Choosing Texas by Ella Langley.
Okay. Maybe I would know the song, but I don't know who Ella Langley is. Okay. But okay. I see Somber on there, and Somber grew up in my neighborhood.
Oh.
So I feel like I just gotta like support the like local artists. So like I would love to go with him, but I don't know if I would actually trade him. My inclination here is probably to just go with what the crowd says. I think in general around like music or that feels like a good
It's a very
plan.
small crowd. There's very
Yeah,
little volume here,
yeah, yeah,
but cool. Okay,
yeah.
so
Oh.
you're choosing Drop Dead, but
Yeah, I would always wanna do research on, like, what's going on to, like, feel better about my decision, but if just, like, a hot take, for music one, I would go with the crowd,
for sure.
but
Well,
I know it's a
Somber
somber.
happens to be a great transition into our next topic because Lou Elizondo, a former Department of Defense counterintelligence analyst who ran the Pentagon's UFO program, said that when Americans heard the truth about UFOs, it would be a very somber day. And this created a huge stir in the UFO community about how bad somber would be for us. So, will the US confirm aliens exist before 2027? Currently sitting at 22%, which is, in my view, quite high.
Yeah,
Q is a bit lower at
yeah,
9%, which is still quite high if you think about
yeah,
how transformative that would be.
yeah,
So, yeah, do you want to like walk us through the
yeah.
market and Q's take on it?
Uh, I'm I'm really impressed with that segue. That was really good. Um, okay, yeah. So, like you said, Polymarket has it at 22, Q's at 9. Um, but just like all the other markets, before like really getting into it, really wanting to talk about the resolution criteria. So, for this one, so the president, a cabinet member, a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or a federal agency would need to definitively state that extraterrestrial life or technology exists by December 31st, 2026. And the key word here is definitively. So, in addition, like these are the things that won't count. So, any sort of document release of unexplained sightings, that doesn't count. Trump teasing interesting documents at a rally doesn't count. A redacted file that implies something doesn't count. And any like past presidents, if Obama said something on a podcast, that doesn't count because he's not a current official. So anything short of a sitting official or agency saying the words "we have proof" doesn't resolve the market. Um,
Interesting. And then what if it's what is it specifically extraterrestrial life or is it non-human intelligence in the
uh,
market rules?
Great question. Yes, it says definitively states that extraterrestrial life or technology exists.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting because like there's a lot of people, for instance, who think that UAP are time travelers, like they're humans, but they're just time traveling. So potentially like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away vibes, but like Earth, 20 million years of technology developed faster than light travel and like is time traveling. Like Palmer Luckey thinks that.
Wait,
So it would be really interesting if like UFOs were real and they were not, the technology of present people, but were not extraterrestrial and people lost money on this market. But yeah, in
uh,
any event,
in any event, what's UAP?
unidentified aerial phenomena. So
Oh,
before we said UFOs, but then there was a lot of stigma around people who reported UFOs around like little green men. And this
uh-huh.
created a really big problem with the military because people would see weird stuff and then they wouldn't want to report it because they were afraid that they would be labeled as like psychologically incompetent. They changed it unidentified aerial phenomena to make it seem like more neutral, so people would be less afraid to report things that could be a threat. And then it went to unidentified anomalous phenomena because there's like weird stuff that like submarines encounter under the oceans. So there's all sorts of like weird stuff. But yeah, the cool kids call it UAP now.
Well, thank you for that, cool kids. That's how I'm going to refer to it now too. Okay. So What Q's already found is that President Trump has ordered the declassification of UAP files. That happened in February of this year. And then the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the AARO, they've reviewed over 2,000 incidents and haven't found proof of extraterrestrial technology. And what we've seen pretty consistently is that this administration has used some like hedging or like neutral language at some pretty high attention moments. On Friday, where he danced in Phoenix, he used it there. We'll share more about that in a little bit. And so Q really assesses the likelihood of a definitive confirmation by year end as pretty low. So that's why there's the gap between where the market is sitting at 22 and where Q thinking. To start us off, why is this even a market? Like, why do you think that the market has it at 22?
Well, like, why are people talking about this? UFOs, UAP, aliens was largely like kind of a fringe phenomena that a lot of people were interested in, but most people didn't take very seriously until this New York Times article in 2017 by Leslie Kean, where they reported on a bunch of strange videos that naval aviators had recorded of objects doing things they couldn't explain. That unleashed this broader kind of wave of interest in this topic as like a serious topic, because people found out that the Pentagon actually had a program to look at these unexplainable instances. And it was like really concerning to people involved in national security, because either there actually were aliens with like this incredible technology, or it meant that like Russia or China had made really big advances in propulsion technology and stealth technology that we could encounter and didn't know about. So that created AARO, so the office that you mentioned earlier, which is doing investigations and all these reports. There's like really sophisticated chat room where people in different intelligence agencies can share on unexplained sightings and try to get them resolved, because a lot of them can be resolved. Like, it's something that looks really weird, but it's actually like a party balloon that's like floating. But some of them can't be resolved and are very strange. So that's why this is a topic where the likelihood, even for Quotient being skeptical, is almost 10%, because there's been a steady wave of disclosure of these incidents that can't be explained. I think that the divergence between Quotient and the Polymarket crowd, though, comes from a series of tweets around the time of when like Minneapolis was in the news. And like between that and the beginning of Operation Epic Fury, there was like this series of like teasing tweets by Trump administration officials where they were like, UFO files are coming, alien head. So that's why this is in the news, and that's why people take this seriously.
Yeah. I mean, also just in general, it's just there's something intriguing about it. So it just captures attention and is in Polymarket's best interest to find markets that are of interest on both sides.
It's also just like, if it's true, it's like the most transformative thing ever, right? Because putting aside your worldview and beliefs about the universe, if there's technology that allows like the craft to move, it means that they're using like massive amounts of energy. So that would indicate that there's a way for us to create massive amounts of energy at very low cost, which would be like, you know, as the Strait of Hormuz is closed and people are freaking out about the price of oil, it would be really good to have like a cheap, abundant energy source. But on the flip side, that could also be like weaponized, right? Like, in a nuclear weapon is a release of a lot of energy at once. So there's these practical elements for people like investing in frontier technology and energy, where they want to understand whatever these things are, like, how do they work? How is it possible? Because if we can figure that out, it unlocks all of these economic and security opportunities.
I always thought the interest was more around interplanetary or intergalaxy. Like, is there somewhere else that could exist? Are there other life forms? But what you're talking about is more like technological advances.
Yeah, imagine that there are aliens and we knew 100% they existed. And we even got their version of the Bible or whatever. it's like that would be like really interesting and would affect people's worldviews. But what would immediately happen would be that people would be like, how can we make money off of this? Right.
Yeah.
So, like, frankly, I think that's why people take UAP seriously at all. It's the implication of them being real means that there's these massive investment opportunities,
Yeah.
which are a lot more like practical.
Yeah. So back to the Pentagon's anomaly office, they've reviewed over 2,000 cases and haven't come up with anything. Can you give us a little bit more insight into what that office actually does and why kind of this baseline matters so much for how this market could resolve?
Yeah. So Congress funded this office out of the Department of Defense. They have a team of intelligence officials who are knowledgeable about physics and other kind of scientific topics related to UAP. And then they created a reporting system and infrastructure where people in the intelligence community could flag that they saw something weird, do some vetting of it in like this really cool group chat. And then if it passed the vetting and submit it to them for like further analysis. Um, and most of the time, they're able to find like pedestrian explanations for like what they see. And like there's a lot of almost unwarranted mystique around this. A lot of the stuff really isn't that weird. It's just that the process for figuring out what it is involves classified sensors or would involve saying like, oh, we see something weird near North Korea and we resolve it and it's just a party balloon. The classified part would be that there was some super secret drone above North Korea and it has this resolution video or whatever.
Sure.
So a lot of it's explainable, but kept really secret because of the means through which they determined the thing was not real. But a very small percentage of them, they're like, we're not able to resolve it to anything like pedestrian with confidence. We don't really know what it is, which is like a small bucket. And then within that small bucket, we don't know what it is, and it's behaving in ways that defy our understanding of technology. So like less than 0.5%. So that's the area of interest. But how this all relates to the market is like, even if we saw something truly incredible, to go from that to it's extraterrestrial, and we know that for sure, is very difficult because you don't know what it is. It could be like Elon Musk's like pet project. It could be a natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. It's like you can identify these anomalous incidents, but even if you can confirm that it's truly anomalous, it's like, how do you know it's alien? And the other thing, part of the market is like the part about technology, right? Because it says extraterrestrial life or technology. So there's like a ton of conspiracies around how the US government has covered crashed alien crafts or metals with weird characteristics that might be from alien technology, and they're kept in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or custodied by US government national labs or defense contractors or whatever. Arrow has investigated those accusations that have been made to the intelligence community and hasn't been able to substantiate any of them. But all of that is to say, the other way that this could resolve, yes, is if Trump is like, yeah, we found like an alien hair dryer and it's incredible technology, and if we can figure out how it works.
Wouldn't that be like such a miracle? This like brand new like hair drying technology where like immediately your hair is awesome. That would be like wowzer.
Yeah, and then we would put the hair dryer on a satellite over North Korea, and then the hair dryer would destroy any North Korean ICBM with a immensely powerful beam of light. Is the idea.
If aliens are here, they're thinking of us as one. Are there other minority populations in other countries that have similar fascinations?
Yeah, there's been UFO sightings all over the world, and other countries like China and Russia have had their own military government programs to study UFOs. And so like the US actually has more stigma around the topic than other countries. That said, the majority of UFO sightings are over the US, which has led to like a lot of speculation that like it's probably just like US government technology. But on the other hand, it's like it would make sense for the US to see a lot of strange things because they have like the equipment to monitor the sky, right?
Okay. So last Friday, when Trump was at the Turning Point USA event where he danced, so I don't know if you saw our show on Friday, but that was the market that I presented and he danced. But he also started talking about some like interesting documents that I thought I'd save it for this crowd because you're a little bit out there.
Yeah, there was this big famous Phoenix Lights incident in 1997 where a big thing flew over Phoenix and a bunch of people reported it as a UFO. And there's theories that it was like flares or like a government blimp, but famous UFO sighting.
What do you think about this? Like, not necessarily this exact language from Friday, but just the administration using this type of language to insinuate something or maybe hedge against something, but not actually provide any sort
Yeah,
of
I
like.
mean, he's engagement farming. Like, so what's something that a lot of Trump's base and people who voted for Trump hold in common, that they think that legacy institutions have failed them and prevented the kind of release or emergence of disruptive, innovative technologies or practices that could benefit the US. So, like last weekend, he signed the executive order to do ibogaine to help people recover from trauma, like the psychedelic, right? Like that's like an anti-establishment thing that people felt was being suppressed that could be helpful to a lot of people. It's the type of thing that like people who listen to Joe Rogan or the Sean Ryan show might be like, yeah, like that's like kind of a contrarian thing that I believe. And I think that the people hiding this should be held accountable. He said similar things about releasing documents related to the JFK assassination, similar things about releasing documents related to Epstein. There's the psychedelics, and there's this, because it's another thing where there's like the bad guy is the deep state that's been hiding this from you, and he's going to allow for transparency, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
putting aside like how you feel about all those different topics, it's just part of a broader, we're going to introduce transparency. We're going to treat you like adults. We're not going to hide useful information from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has played out across a bunch of different political topics.
Yeah. In terms of that transparency, there's a difference between releasing files and confirming UAP or extraterrestrial life or technology. And so the administration could declassify thousands of pages and the market could still resolve to know. Do you think that there's portion of traders that are kind of fascinated or focused on the releasing of the documents, and that in itself is going to be confirmation of something, and that's why there's maybe a gap here?
The administration beyond Trump, like Hegseth and Gabbard and other people, have talked about alien. They've used alien emoji, and they said that they're going to declassify stuff, and they might. And they might even declassify stuff where they're like, this defies the known laws of physics, and we don't think it is Russia or China, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But to make the leap to say that it's then alien or extraterrestrial,
Yeah.
it's just very, I mean, it's very difficult. Like, what's going to be your proof that it's alien? Does
Yeah.
the dude like hop out of the craft and go up to the guy recording him and say, "I am an alien from Alpha Centauri 5"? So
Yeah.
it's just very hard. It's very difficult to prove, like
Yeah.
based off of the resolutions criteria.
Yeah.
But one other theory is that if the US wanted to like deter China or Russia or whatever, they could be like, yeah, by the way, we have like this secret alien technology. So if you invade Taiwan, we're going to like have our Tic Tacs with the alien hair dryers and shoot the lasers. Like, so you shouldn't do that, which would be like a crazy bluff, right? There's also kind of an element there where like putting aside conspiracy, I think that the US has a very strong incentive to hint that there is something that they know that other people don't know without specifying what it is, because it
Mhm.
keeps people off edge. So yeah, it's kind of a messy information landscape.
What you're starting to talk about is that they're almost like incentivized to keep the intrigue, right? To keep it as a question mark because it's It's a cover of sorts.
And for a long time, they explicitly did that. For instance, there'd be people who would camp out outside of Air Force test ranges and see early versions of stealth aircraft and record them. And then Russian spies were infiltrating those groups and getting details about our secret tech. So the Air Force spread disinformation that they were actually UFOs. And and fed them false information. And one UFO researcher went crazy and killed himself because he was he thought he was at the center of this massive conspiracy. So that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that there's a documented history of the government pushing out disinformation to hide their tech as.
All right, there's more to this market than I actually thought. But to sum it all up, declassification is not confirmation. The administration can release every file within the Pentagon and the market can still resolve to no. Another point to always read the resolution criteria and know kind of what is part of that. That aspect plus kind of the reasoning that Q provides makes me feel pretty confident about where we stand. So that's all we have for today. As always, you can visit our site at app.quotient.social to read more about the narratives and see all the reasoning behind each market and the forecasts from Q. You can also follow us at Quotient HQ on X. And we'd love to hear your feedback, leave comments if there's anything else you think we should do, share, anything like that. We'd love to hear it. Please share this with anyone you think might find it interesting. And as a reminder, nothing we say here is financial advice, and always do your own research. So have a great day.